It's also on the back of your name tags. Okay, I am going to call to open the October 29th meeting at 6:36 p.m. Beginning with public comment, are there any members of the public who wish to speak at this time? Seeing none, we will close public comment for now. Our guest presenter, Andy Kelly, is not here at the moment, so we're going to proceed with the agenda and then come back to him once he arrives. So moving into reports, I will call up Caroline with Academic Affairs.
Hi guys, thanks for the applause, I really appreciate it. So over the past 2 weeks, Academic Affairs has been focusing on calendar reform, discussing the Husky Book Bundle program, and brainstorming advertising ideas for our free New York Times subscription that we provide to all undergraduate students. So if you haven't signed up for your subscription yet, this is your sign, you should do that. Come see me if you need details on how to do that. So for calendar reform, our committee finalized questions for a survey that's going to be distributed to students during our library tabling from November 19th to November 21st. I also met with Haritha and a representative from the AAUP, which is like the teachers union, to discuss professor concerns within the scope of our proposed initiatives, including calendar reform, ensuring that professor safety and well-being is being prioritized in our committee conversations. For the Husky Book Bundle, last week in committee we reviewed the current setup of the Husky Book Bundle program, including its price, accessibility, and the opt-out process. We will soon be collecting outside student feedback on their book bundle experience at our table in the library from November 5th to November 7th, where we're going to be promoting open educational resources as an alternative to the program. If you have any thoughts relating to the bundle, please let me know so that it can be taken into consideration as we move forward. And then if you have any ideas that you'd like to share in general, please stop by our committee. We meet tomorrow from 6 to 7 p.m. in Student Union 325. At tomorrow's meeting, we're also going to be discussing school supply options for our finals care fair, questions for an upcoming survey on advising, and accessible seating options for the library's first floor study room. So, hope to see you there. Have a great week, guys.
Thank you, Caroline. Are there any questions? All right, moving on to external affairs, we have Liv.
Hi everyone, just a few announcements. So first with Clothing Closet, we're doing our final pop-up of the semester from November 3rd to 6th, 12 to 4, second floor of the bookstore. We have added 11 credits to everyone's accounts so that students can get maybe another full outfit just because we have the inventory for that. So make sure to stop by for your free professional clothing. We also still have early voting going in the second floor of the bookstore currently. That is going until this Sunday. That is for the Mansfield municipal election. So if you're interested in voting in that, you can do same day registration using your Yukon or Mansfield address. And then we are working with John Armstrong from the Dean of Students office to put out an off-campus student experience survey. So we will be tabling at their off-campus housing fair, which will be November 6th, 10 to 2 in the Student Union Ballroom. And then we will also start promoting that survey as well to get some student feedback on off-campus housing for UConn.
Are there any questions? All right, next up is Student Services. Gabriel, you have the floor.
Hey everyone, so we started finalizing details and event dates for next semester as we kind of come to the close. I met with the director of dining to discuss the dining advisory council that we're going to start forming to start soon. Finalizing the details for the cooking class that's going to be occurring next Tuesday, and continuing to work on the legal services project. We're going to be meeting with some people on the university legal side to discuss like drafting the request for proposals and the contracts and all the legal wording that is very complex, and we need people to make sure I don't do anything illegal. Yeah, that's kind of it. Any questions? Awesome sauce.
Thank you, Sabrina. Next up, we have our Chief Justice, Ella.
Hi guys, so the judiciary has been a little bit more busy this week. We have 2 hearings. We had one last night and then one on Friday. Besides that, I personally have been more busy with finalizing the transition policy for you all to hear tonight. So it passed through internal last week, and I will be presenting that to you tonight later on. So super exciting stuff.
Awesome. Next up is me. I have been working on planning the rest of our Senate meetings for this semester. So very excited that we have Bonnie Hannon, the Dean of Students, and John Armstrong, the Associate Dean, who covers off-campus services, Interfaith Council, and Veterans Programs coming at our next meeting. And then for our last Senate of the semester on December 3rd, we have Nathan First, the Vice President for Student Life and Enrollment, Cindy Costanzo, the Assistant Vice President for Student Life, and Mona Lucas, the Assistant Vice President for Enrollment. They'll be coming to join us and talk about housing and enrollment. Other than that, I have been starting some preliminary ideas for next semester, trying to work in some of those suggested speakers who we were not able to get to this semester. I also have a bunch of slots open tomorrow and Friday for senator check-ins, if anyone would like to meet and discuss anything. Also, not to steal Nick's thunder, but he is working hard on getting the Senate class up and running for next semester. So that will be a 1-credit, 3,000 level political science elective that is graded. More info to come on that, but it will not have any attendance requirements beyond the ones that already exist for your positions as senators. So we are very excited to have that running again. Are there any questions? Awesome. Next up, we have Billy.
All right, hi everybody. I'm sorry, I didn't have time to pull this up on my phone. I have a few important updates from my office. I'm happy to report that we've officially closed the Tier 2 funding form for fall semester submissions as of last night. We've officially spent $574,000 in Tier 2 funding. Myself and the funding staff are really pleased with this number as it reflects efficiency in processing requests, but it also shows that we have saved a good allocation of money for the spring semester. Additionally, Nick Murphy, our operations manager, finalized USG's official FY26 purchasing training, and that was shared with our governing board this past Monday. Nick and I are now working on a mid-year budget review presentation that we hopefully will be sharing with you at our last Senate meeting this semester. On the PR side of things, there have been no new PRs submitted to my office since our last meeting. And the inventory team, in collaboration with the OSS director, Nolan, they are working on surplusing a large amount of unused USG inventory, which we'll be hopefully voting on very soon. And as always, if you have any questions regarding the budget or my office in general, please feel free to reach out.
Eliahu, is that a question?
Yeah, I was curious. Can we see where the USG funding is going? Like, is there information about, 500 grand? Where did that 500 grand go?
I would be happy to run a report and have that ready for next Senate if that's something that you guys would be interested in. Unfortunately, I'm not able to pull that right now, but I can talk to Krista and see if she can look and see. We'd probably be able to see the clubs that are receiving requests and the expense codes that the requests are for. So if that's something everyone would be interested in, I'd be happy to do that.
Awesome, thanks, Billy. Next up is Phoenix, our Chief Diversity Officer.
Hey everybody, oh this is loud, sorry. Hey everybody, so pretty steady flow here. The dental hygiene clinic will be in Rome Commons Ballroom in March. We're working on solidifying those dates now and lining up Gen Dental's availability with the Rome Commons Ballroom availability because they need to be able to keep the equipment there overnight, and Rome Commons Ballroom is probably the best location for this. We're also going to be working on tabling and advertising better so that students can pre-book appointments for more intensive procedures like maybe getting a cavity fill-in or extractions. So we do want to make sure we're providing a lot of versatility in dental services. So if any students have any questions or even recommendations for that, definitely reach out. We are open to all feedback from last year's. And then we have our immigration panel, which we're hoping to do in Jorgensen Theater. We actually just recently heard back from the director of Jorgensen Theater, so the hope is that we'll be able to hold it there, likely the week of January 26th. The date is still pending. For the Diversity and Outreach Commission, just finalized the panels we plan to reach out to, and hopefully once we hear back from them, we can share those names with you all and start planning for the event this spring. Our New Year Resources Wednesday, which is bi-weekly Wednesdays in collaboration with the comms team. Last Wednesday, we were able to share resources for the Dean of Students office, and next Wednesday, we're hoping to share some resources from Shaw. If anyone has any other administrations they'd like to hear resources about or from, or administrations that they've heard of but don't know too much about, definitely share that with us. We can do the research and make sure that it is shared out on our Instagram with all the other undergraduate students. And then student support channels, we're currently working on kind of making sure that our student support channels are direct, accessible, and that specific things are going in specific forms. So breaking that down and making sure we have a more efficient form system. Right now we just have the contact us form on our website and the incident report form. We kind of want to separate that into general questions and concerns, funding questions, and the incident report form, and then potentially mentorship opportunities and things like that, so that way students kind of have direct forms to fill out and take them to the right resources. And then lastly, at the previous University Senate meeting, we discussed the anti-Black racism course, and this was a course that was voted on and passed in 2023, but because of the current political climate and just recent events that are taking place, some of the university senators have expressed concerns with this, and there was a motion to rescind the course. That motion was tabled for the next University Senate meeting. So they're asking for students to show up and kind of voice their concerns in public comment, or just come out. University Senate doesn't typically have a lot of student presence, and administrators and other university senators are hoping that students will show out, share their opinions on the course, and whether or not they think that it's a value to, be in favor against its rescinding. And we also just want to encourage more student involvement and presence in the University Senate. Obviously, we all come out to USG Senate, but I do encourage you all to show up, especially because the University Senate discusses a lot of important things that directly impact us, and student presence, even when you're not giving public comment, is very powerful. And I would also urge you all to make good connections with other university senators, because they're not only faculty and staff here and members of the Board of Trustees and things like that, but they also have voting power on things that we don't necessarily have voting power on. So just to put that out there, the next University Senate meeting is going to be November 3rd here in the ballroom from 4 p.m. to 6. It's open to the public. There's also a virtual link to join on the University Senate website, and happy to share those resources with you all. So that's it from my report.
Any questions? All right, we'll move on to Haritha.
Hello everyone, I hope you guys are having a lovely evening. So within the past 2 weeks, we had our annual film retreat. So thank you so much to everyone who could be there. It was a true pleasure getting to know each and every single one of you and learning more about what you all are passionate about. I'm super excited for the team that we've built this year and for what's to come. Outside of retreat, we have finalized our transition policy bylaw amendments, all of which will be brought before you tonight to vote on, so I'm excited to see how that goes. I've also been working on finalizing the Hindu prayer space and working with John Armstrong on the Interfaith Council. Also been involved with the Legal Services Project, where we're currently looking to get a table sometime soon to get more responses for our survey to better understand what legal services the student body is looking for. We've also had a conversation with the faculty union, WAP, and a lot of discourse around the anti-Black racism course, which Phoenix just talked about, that will be discussed at the next University Senate meeting on the 3rd. And right now we're also shooting to bring all the Connecticut student governments together on November 8th to decide what we want the Connecticut Student Association to look like. So thank you so much.
Are there any questions for Haritha? All right, last but not least, Andy unfortunately could not be here tonight, so his chief of staff, Cameron, will be giving his report.
Hi guys, I'm Cameron. Andy's been working on a lot. The first thing that he's been working on with Haritha is the Hindu prayer space. They're doing really well with that. We've made a lot of strides in the legal services project. We're currently in the process of outreach to student organizations, as well as departments and faculty, FYE, unit classes, all of that. For the Legal Services Interest Form, if you guys haven't filled that out, please do. We love the feedback. We're currently, as Jim was talking about, drafting the RFP, so in case we do need to hire legal representation, this would allow us to work with the Department of Procurement to do that. We're still exploring pro bono legal service options, so we're reaching out to the CT Bar Association, the People's Parity Project, and speaking with trustees. To expand on what Rick was talking about, so for the Connecticut Student Association, we're still connecting with other universities. Right now in our meeting on November 8th, we're going to be meeting with student governments from CCSU, WCSU, ECSU, Sacred Heart, UHeart, Wesleyan, Yale, as well as some of UConn's branch campuses. We're also still reaching out to other schools and hoping to get more community colleges represented as well. And lastly, Caroline and I were just appointed to the W Task Force, which is part of the Common Curriculum Committee, so that'll allow us to get a little bit more feedback on the W requirements. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. We'll now move into our voting items. First up, we have the approval of the minutes from October 15th. Are there any questions, comments, points of discussion on these minutes? Seeing none, I will move to approve them by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? The minutes are approved. Thank you, Nick. Very enthusiastic, as always. Next up, we have an amendment to the undergraduate student government bylaws regarding transition documents and onboarding. I'll leave the QR code up for a second if anyone wants to scan and follow along, and I will invite Ella up to present.
Hi everyone again. Okay, so basically, this bylaw is for a standardized transition policy for all USG employees, excluding a couple positions. Those positions that it is excluding is OSS staff, comm staff, funding staff, and university senators. So basically, this bylaw is establishing a process for transitions within USG to ensure more continuity, accountability, and smoother onboarding for all incoming members. It requires the applicable positions to complete the transition documents, outlines a clear check-in schedule, and sets expectations for both supervisors and elected officials. I talk about the supervisor more in the MOU, and that's the purpose of the MOU, is that we have the USG supervisor to kind of oversee positions like elected officials that don't have someone directly supervising them internally within USG. So the goal here is basically to prevent institutional knowledge from being lost when leadership changes, and also to make sure that every member coming into their role has the tools and information they need to succeed in said role. So this was drafted by me, Caroline, Haritha, and Andy, and my deputy Isabel, and I'm bringing it forward to you tonight for consideration and your vote. Thank you very much. And if you have questions, please ask them.
Thanks, Ella. We'll open it up for questions now. Are there any questions? Are there any points of discussion? All right, seeing no questions and points of discussion, I will move to pass this bylaw by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Congratulations, Ella. Next up, we have an approval of the USG and USG Advisor MOU regarding the oversight and compliance of transition documents and check-ins under Bylaw 7. And Ella, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm back again. So the MOU basically complements the bylaw, like I said before. Elected officials in those positions, again, don't have direct supervisors, so we have this MOU is an understanding between USG and the USG supervisor, basically stating that the USG supervisor will oversee the transition documents and make sure the elected officials are complying with said transition documents. So yeah, that's what the MOU is.
Thanks, Ella. Are there any questions? Any points of discussion? Last call for questions and discussion on this item. All right, we will move into a hand vote on this. All those in favor, please raise your hands. All those opposed? Abstentions? That passes 32-0 to 3, myself, Angelo, and Sam Ramirez abstaining. All right, that is the conclusion of our voting items. Unfortunately, it is looking like Andy Kelly will not be joining us tonight. I sincerely apologize for that. I did not know. But in place of that, and I know this is not an adequate substitute, I would like to have a conversation now of the topics, concerns, and questions that everyone was planning on bringing up tonight, so that I can forward them to Mr. Kelly and get a response back. Would anyone like to begin the discussion? Tommy? I was not notified. Phoenix?
A question I would like to ask in regards to parking is why students are now being, their cars are being booted or towed, and ticket prices are already up and parking accessibility is decreasing. Where's this money going, and why does there need to be an increase in what we're charging students when parking is already inaccessible and unaffordable?
Thank you. Sigal?
So that for the minutes. So my question was that, is there going to be a possibility to have more buses going around on weekends, especially the hunting lodge and for standard departments? I know last year when they were here, they said that it's not possible, it's not within the budget, but has there been any changes? Because I know many of the students live very close by campus and rely on the bus for transportation, so that's my question, I guess.
Thank you, Sigal. Would anyone else like to? Oh, Billy.
I would just be curious to know if the revenue that's being earned on behalf of parking services goes directly back into facilities operating budget, or if that revenue is being put into other departments in the university.
Thanks, Billy. Smith, sorry again.
It's a Smith for the minutes. My question would have been pertaining to how can students get directly involved in UConn parking services and other transportation related issues, whether there's a committee that students can be involved in, or whether a committee should be created for us to be involved in. That was what I wanted to ask.
Thank you. We'll go to Jonathan and then Gabriel.
Jonathan Boer, AACC. So my question was, I do know that the bus has revised and changed, and as of recent, I feel like the buses have been ending way earlier than the set time, and for people living in places all the way for people living in Northwood and Charter, a lot of students feel unsafe walking back, mostly at night, because a lot of people have late classes, work. That drags into the hours past the bus operating times. Is there a way where we could how they said use the funds from parking services let parking services get from tickets and booths to actually fund and extend the times for the bus running? That's all.
Thank you.
To answer some questions that have been asked, me, Andy Kelly, and Haritha are working on a student advisory council. So if any senators are involved on being part of that, please Slack me and I will get you in the loop of that. One of the things is the buses and the parking services and everything. So please Slack me if you'd like to be a part of this, and we're planning on meeting soon, and this will be a somewhat regular meeting. Obviously, we're working on schedules, so the sooner people let me know, the better, and we can make sure we accommodate as many students who want to be there as possible.
Thanks, Gabriel. Sam?
Hi, Sam for the minutes. I know for parking services, you have to purchase for those who can have their car on campus, have to purchase a year-round parking permit. For those that are graduating early, I think that's kind of tough because you have to then call them to let them know that you would rather have it just for that one semester, whereas it should be semester-based for those, or at least have that option to purchase one semester rather than the whole year, because otherwise if you forget that date or it's not really advertised, I didn't know myself until I had called them. So you'd be missing out on money when you're already spending a lot, so.
Thank you. Kim?
Cameron for the minutes. I saw that he said that they're trying to build a new parking garage on campus, so I was curious like where their plans. I think they said closer to South, but I'm curious on like where they get the money for that and how long that would probably take.
Thank you. Eliyahu, and then Caroline.
Hello. I have more of like a dining hall question kind of thing. So I find it really annoying that from 2 o'clock, 2:30 to 4 o'clock, there's no dining halls that are open. Can we create like a system or lobby for a system where maybe one dining hall is open while the other one is closed? Like Northwest is open from 2:30 to 4, while North is closed, and then 4 o'clock to 6 North. That kind of thing, because sometimes I get out of class at 2:15 and I gotta eat, and then I gotta wait 2 hours, and I gotta spend points at the union, then I got no points, and it's an issue. So.
Yeah, that is definitely something we could discuss with Mike White, the director of dining, who is on our list for the spring, as well as Jabril and Andy, who work closely with Andy, our president, who work closely with him. Caroline?
Hi, Caroline for the minutes. So this would be like kind of somewhat a personal issue, but I have a parking pass and I live in like CT Hall, and there isn't a resident lot near Buckley Shippey South Alumni CT Hall. The closest resident lot is behind East, which is like where Whitney Dining Hall is, for those of you that don't know. It's a really far walk, and it's also inaccessible because if you're walking back, it's entirely uphill. I was just wondering if there could be an expansion of the resident spots. I know the south lot is like under construction, so we're not allowed to park there. But it's a serious accessibility concern, especially considering that Connecticut is a very accessible building and a lot of students with disabilities are placed there because of that. So without access to a car, it's really inconvenient and not accessible for those students.
Absolutely. Are there any other questions or, yes, Mary?
Just going off of that, I was thinking about that with when you have residence lot parking pass, it doesn't assign you to a certain lot or a certain space. I think a lot of these issues could be avoided. Like lot D, lot A are always full and often full of people who don't live near there. If lot D was, reserved for Connecticut Hall, South residence halls that were close by, that might solve some of those problems.
Yes, Clara?
I just have a concern in regards that we're still paying the same transportation fee, yet the service has dramatically decreased for it. So, for example, this year, the hours are severely reduced. I know that some buses stop, especially those that are towards downtown. The apartments are kind of far away, and the parking lots, those tend to end around 6 p.m. And also certain lines being combined. So I know Red Silver was combined, which makes it super inconvenient for people that live like all the way in Northwood, having to go like essentially around the entire campus to get to where they need to. So I was just wondering, like, if we're getting charged the same year after year, why is the service dramatically decreasing? Also, I did end up going around speaking to the bus drivers, and while we do have a full crew, these they're working like 12-hour days. So I was just wondering if we could like maybe hire more bus drivers just to have like backups, because these people are like getting long, really long work days essentially with no break.
Thank you.
Rowan for the minutes. So I have a lot of questions about the buses actually because I feel like general consensus is that the routes just aren't really the most sensible and just it's a pretty dysfunctional system, and yes, it does seem like there has been some cutbacks this year too that have made it even worse. And I would think that going off of what you said about like the bus drivers, yes, it seems like they are working long hours and there might be understaffed, but I've also noticed too, there's too many times when there are buses going around that are not in service, so clearly there's it's sort of wasteful usage of the buses that could be a lot better because oftentimes the buses take too long to go around on their routes, so we could be having better usage of the buses probably, and I think that in general there just needs to be more student input on the buses because I think most people can agree that the routes make very little sense. And one thing I noticed last year was living at North was last year that there was no way to get from North to Price Chopper downtown. There was no bus that took you directly from North to that area. You have to walk to some degree. It makes no sense considering that's where they put the freshmen. So they're basically the buses don't really serve who you'd expect them to serve. And I think there needs to be more student input on the routes because the routes don't seem to have ever made sense, and I think a lot of people want to see those made more sense. And I've even found that sometimes the weekend routes and the campus loop routes end up being more convenient because they actually go where you need to go.
Awesome. Jonathan?
I don't know if everyone mentioned this, but for UConn dining, I kind of feel like the food options is most of the dining halls are not inclusive for a lot of people, either with dietary restrictions involving health related dietary restrictions, religious ones. For example, lactose intolerant, it was I don't eat pork or anything with pork on it. And I kind of find myself finding it hard to eat on campus as a whole because I feel like at times they just add pork to food that does not eat pork, chicken. They add baking bits of collard greens, and that's one of the only few options there for me to eat. So it's is there a way where we could make I know we do have Galvin buying a halal stations at some of the dining halls, but at times, let's say someone with intersecting problems can't find anything to eat at all, and a lot of students have come to me about that situation.
Yes, we can definitely bring that up with Mike. Gabriel, do you want to add something?
Yeah, again, any dining concerns also please slap me with and I'll bring it straight to Mike next time I meet with him. And obviously the dietary accommodations like that are definitely something that is a top priority. I also cannot eat pork and I relate to many of those and a large chunk of students on campus as well. So we're kind of looking at ways to make sure that we're addressing these. So please, any ideas or anything like that, please feel free to slap me or email me or come to me after the meeting ends or, yeah.
Any other questions, concerns for Andy Kelly? Okay, seeing none, we will wrap up this discussion here. Only announcement is, again, please sign up for Senator checking if you would like to. With that, again, I do apologize that tonight's meeting was not what we expected, certainly not what I had hoped for. I will call the close here. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and please grab pizza on the way out.